Well, welcome back to the Peculiar Ones podcast for part 2 with my dear friend and now your friend, Tony Banks. If you didn't listen to part 1, stop right here and go back to last week. You're going to want to listen to part 1. It sets up this week because this week we're going to talk about all things hard, marriage, loss of a child, dealing with tragedy. Could there be a God? And all things Golden State Warriors. It's going to be a real mix here in the next 35 minutes. Listen, Tony references this thing called Dawn Patrol. It's the thing that brought me and Tony together. It's where 100, 120, probably 200 men over the last 15 years have gathered every Wednesday morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, to wrestle through life together, to wrestle with the Creator together, and to become better men together. That's been a big part of Tony and I's life. He mentions it a couple times. Some of you might not know what that is. I want to clue you in on that. And again, we're in a gymnasium, so the audio could be a little this and that. If you're on YouTube, I slide in a bunch of pictures what Tony's talking about and pictures of Israel. And again, if you want to join us on our next trip, it's January 5th, 2021. Go to my webpage, thetribalway.org, go to the adventures page and click all around on last year's trip and this year's brochure and just get all the information. Love to see you travel to Israel with me. Kick back and enjoy part 2 with my dear friend, Tony Banks. So what was some of the hardest things you saw in your time at OPD?
Oh, man, a lot of losing a lot of friends. Mm-hmm. You know, we know that, one of the sayings was to be able to, there was like, to get to where the police cars were, we left the lineup room, went downstairs under this tunnel, went under the street up to the cars. Mm-hmm. Your goal was to make that return trip, do the day, be able to come back, make that return trip, go back to your locker. I've lost, I think in my time there, 14 coworkers were killed in the line of duty there.
You're kidding. No. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. My early on, I think 85, 84, this is like 2 years after I'm on, I made relief with a guy. Relief is, back then we worked 8-hour shifts, and so the car would just kept going. I use it, I give it to you, you use it, then you give it to that, and so on. So at the end of the day, I was working graveyard then. I gave the key to a guy named Chesley Stevens. Chesley went out and did his job and got killed that day. And I'm like, wow, okay. If that call had been a few hours earlier, could it have been me? But he was probably the second person. He was the second person to get killed. There was a guy, Ramon Irizarry, was killed. He was shot while I was in the academy for no good reason. If there was ever a good reason. And he died after I graduated, because I remember being on hospital guard, with him. He was on life support. Jeez. So from the very moment that I'm graduating, I'm dealing with losing, a colleague. And
the reality of the job is not hidden.
No, it was right there. And then and what I remember about Ramon, he's one of the guys that actually spoke to me. I'm still a guy in the academy. And he's walking, hey, what's up, my man? He actually spoke. He's like, oh, here's a guy that's working in Vice. He actually spoke. So I knew who he was. Never had a real conversation with him, but here's a guy that spoke, and I got a chance to speak back. The next thing you know, he's shot, life support, and I'm graduating from the academy, and I get assigned to go do hospital guard up where, and shortly after he passed, and he was the first law enforcement funeral I went to. And I've been to a bunch. Not just Oakland's, but just all over. So it lays it right out there for you that that all of this is possible, and you get that opportunity to go, okay, well, maybe this isn't for me, But that never really crossed my mind. It just became, okay, what do I got to do to make sure that doesn't happen to me? And I used to have this sign hanging in my locker. How many times could they have gotten me today? Crazy, right?
In your locker?
In my locker. It was from a class I'd taken, a book I'd read called Street Survival. And you think about it, as law enforcement officers, we're reactive. We don't generally create havoc.
Scenarios. Yeah.
I'm walking up to deal with you, and somebody that don't like cops could be coming this way and try to run me over, shoot me, or whatever. Like what happened with Ramon. He's going, guys blowing the horn, hey, what do you want? And he's shooting them.
Wow.
So that thought is like basically keeps you alert. It's like, okay, what did I do today that could have gotten me killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you hone this skill called reaction. That doesn't fare well in relationships.
No. No.
So
No.
what have you learned about shutting off? Now, you married a cop.
Mm-hmm.
And she was what was her role?
She was the first female homicide investigator in the history of the Oakland Police Department.
Really? And
Oh,
a good
yeah.
one.
Oh, fantastic. You know, Sharon, she and I, we met as partners. We got promoted together. We investigated burglaries together, and watching her do interviews was amazing. You know, it's like she turned into their mother, or, you know, show real compassion. She's a super compassionate person.
She's a great lady, too.
And it comes out regardless of what she's doing. I mean, she's investigating a murder, you know, and she's getting people to either open up or not open up.
Yeah.
But she's being nice to them.
Treating them like humans.
Yeah, I love to hear her talk about testifying in court when she's walking in and the defense going, "Hi, Miss," and the defense attorney, "Hey, stop that!" You know, you can't be waving to the person that just, you know, but because she treated them fairly during the interview.
So there's the other peculiar thing. So you marry an investigator. You're a reactionary cop because that's what good cops do. What have you learned in 25 years of marriage?
28.
28 years of marriage.
Yeah.
What have you learned as a skill set that helps in that environment?
What do you mean?
Like, what have you learned about marriage? You know, two professionals, type A's.
Yeah.
Successful people, driven, loving people, both of you.
I've learned to let Sharon be Sharon, you know, and she's learned to let me be me. I mean, Sharon is, though she's driven and so on, her mission is to take care of anybody, including me. And there are days I don't want to be taken care of. And those are days that my reaction could be one that could mess me up for a week. You know, it's like, yeah, I don't feel like doing that, you know? And I've learned, and I always like, okay, let her take care of me. It's what she wants to do. And on the flip side of that, it makes me want to take care of her more. You know, it's like, you know, if I'm up, I'm making the coffee, I'm bringing her coffee in bed. Why? Because she's making dinner tonight, you know, because she wants me to have dinner. You know, she handles the house because I am gone a lot.
A lot.
She keeps things moving. So when I get a chance to take care of her, I do. I've developed a just say yes. You know, it's like, okay, well, I mean, nothing is. I mean, there are times I don't feel like moving, you know, but okay, sure, whatever. What do you want to go see? Whatever. What do you want to do? Here, let's do that. You know, and
so more of a servant.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to serve anybody, I'm happy to serve her, you know, because she deserves it. So it's taken me some time to develop that, you know, not to put, you know, me first. Like, I don't feel like doing that. You know, I'm gonna sit down. I'm not moving because I'm freaking tired. You know, you want to do what? Nah, not happening. You know, so now it's like, yeah, okay, well, sure. You know, one thing I don't do, I don't watch a lot of reality TV with her, which she watches.
She watches a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and she's cutting back, but it's one of those. If you love me, I just can't get into that. let's watch something else. I love you, but let's watch something else.
Yeah. So what's hard about letting somebody be like? I'm gonna let Sharon be Sharon. What's the rub in that?
It's because it's not natural for me. I mean, we talk about, she and I have these conversations about having people in our lives, and I always tell her, well, you're really. Her circle of people is small. I have a large circle of people that I stay a little bit in contact with, and a smaller circle I'm in contact with a lot. Sharon has a lot of passing ones, as far as I can tell. I mean, she will get out. We'll start walking through the mall or from the store, and it'll take the 5-minute walk, take half an hour, because she stops and says something to everybody's child or dog or what, and it's just the way. And in fact, when we went on vacation, when y'all took a picture of everything, you know, there's a baby, there's a dog, and you put it all together, she has stopped. But that's her. So it becomes me learning how to be patient and let her do her. You know, it's like, okay, well, I'm just, you know, as long as she doesn't mind and I'm not getting upset, I'm just going to go over and sit down and watch and be out of the way, and I'm ready to continue walking when you did. And I tell you, and saying that, it was Sunday was one of the times that when you talk about God just put people in your way or in your path. You know, we'd gone to church, went to the 11 o'clock service, we stopped by Safeway on the way back, and Sharon's doing Sharon. You know, I'm walking ahead, and all of a sudden I hear her say something to some lady about liking her dress. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a conversation. So I go sit down, like, okay, we're almost in the parking lot. But it leads to them taking a picture together, exchanging phone numbers, because that woman was celebrating being a survivor, a suicide survivor.
Wow.
She had shot herself, taken pills, cut her wrist, tried to kill herself several times,
Gee.
and God wouldn't take her. She was unsuccessful, and of course, it leads suicide talk leads Sharon to more conversation about, and and I'm watching like, see, I had to walk by her.
Yeah.
Like, hey, nice dress, and kept it rocking. Sharon, hey, nice
a
dress,
remarkable woman.
and put that right in her path. So I've learned to let her do her. I will stop and speak to people, but as I told her recently, I like to keep it moving. I'm getting old and grumpy. She says I'm getting old and grumpy. It was like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, cool. See ya. I don't. I don't want to hear.
My favorite. Well, I got a lot of Sharon Banks favorites, but one of my favorite is when you were at the Oakland Arena. How long you been with the Warriors now? 5
This
years?
is my third season. Yeah.
Third season only?
Yeah, it feels like 5 years.
Fourth because you came in during the playoffs, the first year.
Oh, I was working for the arena then.
Oh, the arena.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, you got your first, I think, package of tickets.
Oh,
You
yeah,
got
my
2
first year.
seats.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, Sharon, where are all the tickets?
Yeah.
And she gave them all away.
Came all the
people
way.
in Lucky's.
Yeah. Walmart. Here's 2 kids never been to a game. Oh, here's 2 tickets. I'm like, what? But what do you say? It was like,
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I was like,
It's
okay.
beautiful. So you're on the floor, you look up to your seats, and you don't know.
I don't know the people that are there. Yeah.
Would you always go say hi?
Sometimes I did.
yeah.
Some I'd look
busy,
and wave, and because I couldn't get up there all the time. But just kind of wave.
Can you share at all anything about when you and Sharon both lost those 4 officers, and when we met Ed Tracy?
Yeah.
And what that did to you spiritually, because that's kind of when you and I met, maybe
About a year after.
Yeah. And you came up into the men's retreat, and you started really hanging around, and that was a real deep water spiritual moment for you. What was all that?
It was one of those. I tell you, I grew up Catholic. So I went to church. But I didn't think I was getting anything out of it.
Yeah.
it was like it was
Not a Catholic
routine.
thing, more of a routine thing.
Yeah, it was like,
church
okay,
thing, yeah.
well, what was the message today? I don't know, but I went to church. Check. And when that happened, March 21st of 2009, I was home, and I get a phone call that, motorcycle officer was down. I was in charge of the motorcycles, and I call and go right to voicemail. Then I find out it was the shooting. And more details are coming in. They were going to the hospital. So Sharon and I jump in the car. We drive up to Highland, and then we start getting more details. It's 2 motorcycle officers shot. And then the person that did it is now barricaded somewhere else. So I leave Sharon at the hospital and head over to 77th and MacArthur Boulevard in Oakland, where the guy is barricaded in. I'm watching all this go down, and almost as soon as I get there and kind of get nearby, they breach the place, go in, and you can hear the gunshots, and another officer gets killed, gets shot. I don't know if he was dead at that time, but when it all said and done, 4 officers killed and the bad guy killed. And when I started getting more and more details of how it went, it was like it just blew me, Mark. It was like, okay, there cannot be a God that will allow that to happen. I know it's part of the job. Guys want to get away, they fight you, they shoot at you, and then they get away. But he didn't do that. He shot him, got out, and executed him. I'm like, okay.
Evil at the highest.
Oh, my goodness. And it messed me up for a long time.
Long time being a year, 2 years?
About a year.
About a year.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough. That was March. In September, I had already been tested and been selected to go away to Quantico, Virginia, to spend 11 weeks back there at the FBI Academy. So that 11 weeks came at the right time. I got away from the work. I got away from all of it because the recovery of it was hard. It was like I was a lieutenant, and I'm responsible for all these people. So you got to walk around and be the lieutenant, and it's like, how do you tell people it's time to go back to work? And we just kind of let it happen, progress, naturally. It's like, okay, you guys are in, let's all ride somewhere and have lunch. Let's all do this, and slowly we start catching our breath. And when I say people want to help, and sometimes you resist help, some of the help we were getting was awful. People telling us what we need to accept, and what we need to expect out on the streets. It was, don't tell me that after I've just lost 4 friends.
Right.
It was tough. And I'd come home angry. And I remember Sharon telling me, God's gonna come through the roof there and get you, back up just a little bit. I'm like, ain't no God. He ain't coming through to get me. Ain't none of that's happening. So it was a strain with us. She watched me struggle, and I finally started going to some counseling. Went to counseling, had a breakdown on the job. Chief sent me home. I was working for this, was that captain then? No, this was a little later then, yeah. It just affected me even after.
Yeah.
So I went away to Virginia, came back, and went back to work in January. And in January, so it was March, right around January, February, Ed had gone through some of his own stuff behind it because all 4 people worked for him.
Yep.
He was a captain over the SWAT as well as the bikes, and I just had the 2 officers on the bikes, but I knew the SWAT officers as well. One I trained when he was in the academy, and the other is the father of my niece. So I had personal connections with all of them. So it was like, okay. He went through his stuff with the SWAT guys who just raked him over the coals. So we sat down and talked one day, It was like, here, pretty much, hey, you want to come have some lunch? Sure, yeah, let's go. He goes, after church. I'm like, I want to go to church.
Yeah.
I'm done with God. We're going to go get some dim sum. Got this spot out in Dublin, but you got to come, you and Sharon got to come join us at church. Okay. Takes us up to the neighborhood church, and, Pastor Larry speaks, and he introduces us to him afterwards, and had a good lunch, talked a little bit about recovery and what we're doing. And, I think when I came back, they transferred me off the motorcycles to the communication section, which has got to be the worst place ever for a cop. Oh, my goodness. I mean, I'm locked in the room with.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was, I thought I was being punished, but it was, so got through that. But anyway, with Ed, we went the next week and became okay. So we were able to talk a little more. The counseling session started to open me up a little more. So that was the beginning of it. I don't think I went to the men's retreat that year. That was 2010.
I think you started poking around Dawn Patrol.
Yeah, because I got baptized that year.
Yep.
Yeah, that was 2010. So I caught Dawn Patrol just before the December break, right towards the end, and I got baptized that November. So it was a lot starting to fall into place for me then, and and I'd seen the signs about Dawn Patrol, and I need help.
Yep.
So it was like I'm doing okay, but I could be doing better.
Sure.
So I needed it for me. I needed it for Sharon. I needed it to continue working. Then I went.
Nothing like a community man.
Yeah. It was good for me, and oddly enough, that a month later is when I ended up retiring. And going to the DA's office.
Right.
Yeah, that was January 2011. So I was, got out of there. Yeah.
Then you end up in Israel.
Yeah.
You and Sharon both come.
Yep.
What a trip
Yep.
that was. Really emotional for her, in a sense.
Yeah.
And that was. Can you share anything from that, or?
Yeah. It was. That was 2016.
Yep.
I had planned on retiring that year. I think, 5 years at the DA's office. I'm like, this Israel trip is coming up, and there's no way I'm going back to work after that. Because it's going to be, I'm expecting all of this. I'm expecting to walk where Jesus walked, to learn as much. And how do I go back to, working at the county? I'm going to go do some other stuff. But oddly enough, I ended up hurting my knee in January of that year, and ended up having surgery. I was off, and then still never went back.
Right.
So when the trip came, it was perfect timing.
Yep.
It was, we're still battling with the grief of losing our daughter, battling with issues with my son's family. Excuse me. So being able to go away from it all to somewhere where it's, okay, this is how I want to be. I want to learn about this, this is who I'm supposed to turn to when things are bad. And now I'm coming to that land. So we went, and just took it all in.
You guys did it right.
We getting baptized in the Jordan was good. Being able to be baptized by you and Kurt, and then being able to help you baptize Sharon.
That was amazing.
Yeah, listening to her let things go.
Yep.
She tries hard to stay with that. I mean, things still seep back in, but her heart is just keeping her there.
Yeah.
So that was good, and I think the best part for me was, I think we're in Caesarea Philippi, with the who do
men say that I am?
Who do men say that I am? They say you're John the Baptist.
Yep.
Now, who do you say that I am? You're the Messiah. That rocked me. Like, yeah. Right around here somewhere. Jesus asked, who do you say? You are the Messiah. Okay, yeah, cool. Okay, keep that on the down low. We ain't ready to let people know yet. Just want to make sure you guys knew. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So but the whole trip was just outstanding.
Yeah, really something staying in the river with you and Sharon. And again, like you said, with her just coming to a new revelation of trust and what you guys have all been through.
Yeah.
I mean, what you two have been through professionally and personally and relationally with kids and all of it, most people can't recover from.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let that sit there because privacy's privacy, but it's just unbelievable. What do you attribute all of your, I'm going to say joy, because you got a lot to be grumpy about.
Yeah.
I mean, when you stepped back and looked, I mean, we're sitting in the Warriors Arena. I mean, you got a great job. We'll get to that. But there's been the hell you've been through. And what do you attribute the joy to?
I always say I'm appreciative of what I have and appreciative to the people that are around me that continue to be good people. Try not to get pulled down by those that aren't, because I know they have to exist as well. I think I've told you there was, and I have the picture on my phone. I printed it and I hung it in my office. The day you had Lance bring in the 2x4.
Yep.
And,
that. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, I can't be busy pointing out problems of other people without looking at myself.
Right.
And that stuck with me. I mean, enough to make me print it. And I look at it all the time. Okay, yeah, I got a 2x4 in my eye, so let me not worry about your splinter.
Right.
So it's
Luke 7. Yeah.
It's okay. That's how I deal with folks.
Don't be judging people.
Yeah, I don't have time to be judging people because I know them judging me.
Yeah.
I got my own issues.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the people and the things that I have. Sharon will catch me sometimes. Like, he just asked me this the other day, did you not think that you deserve the stuff that you have? Because there are days I don't.
Right.
I walk outside, I look at the house, and who the heck lives here? It's like, what is this?
What life is this?
Yeah, I'm sitting down here, I'm watching TV, I'm like, this is nice.
Yeah.
I mean, where are we?
Puppies, wife.
Oh, yeah. And she's like, do you not think you deserve it? I go, yeah. I think I do, but I never thought I would achieve it.
Yeah.
Is
my dad going to come out of the bedroom? Is this his house?
Yeah. It's like with all the steps, because when I got on the police department, it was, I was married, got married after, and then had 2 kids, so it became a job. It became, well, I really can't afford to lose this job. Now I got people to take care of. And then when that marriage failed, it became, okay, now I got to keep trucking on for my kids. And then I meet Sharon. Now I got a new family to take care of. And promoting and supervising, none of that ever struck me as a goal. I've always known, okay, well, that person there and probably ain't doing it right, but I really don't want to take that job away from him. Then later on, when I became sergeant, which is when I met Sharon, I was a sergeant for 17 years. That was the best job ever. Then it became, okay, well, now I got to start getting older. I got to start thinking retirement. Well, let me try this lieutenant's thing. Passed. Oh my goodness, they made me a captain too. Oh my God! And so kept on moving up and taking on more responsibility, and I think doing pretty well at it. And that's how I started to accept what things that were mine. It's like, okay, I actually worked for this. When I get into debates with people over, them thinking I need to give them stuff, or I'm like, well, I don't remember you out there on my double shift.
Right.
When I'm standing in the rain or not being able to make a basketball game with my kids, or Sharon walking out the door and missing Christmas. So I don't owe you anything. We did what we had to do to get here, and all you see is the results. And worked hard to get it. It's Sup Z.
How you feel?
No. My favorite player is Zaza Pachulia, who just turned 36 last week. So once you learn to accept, this is mine, which is what helps me give stuff away. Be more generous, to be generous with it. Like, okay, really don't need all of this.
Right.
You know, it's
Right.
like, okay, God's giving me this to move it on. I mean, the guys at the church, I always shoot them an email.
Yeah.
Might want to come to the game tonight.
Yeah.
I got send as much gear as I
Give,
can. You
yeah.
know, like, you know.
Who was the first guy that treated you beautifully that shouldn't have? Because I've seen you around some pretty frustrating cats, and you treat everybody so graciously. And I got to think that somebody did that to you, whether it was a teacher or a neighbor, and it rubbed.
You know, I don't know who the first person was. I mean, growing up in my neighborhood in West Oakland, it was a lot of good people, and you know, I always refer back to there's a lady by the name of, I don't know what the real name of it was, like Auntie, you know, but she kept us out of trouble. You know, I was before she passed, I was able to introduce Sharon to her. Like, this lady right here had 3 or 4 teenage sons, and she made them take us out selling fruit during the summer. I mean, we'd go down
From her yard?
No, some from her yard, but mostly from the farmers market down in Oakland, West Oakland,
Always
downtown.
industrious.
Yeah, it was like, hey, guys, load up the truck with fruit. I'll give you 25 cents off every dollar that you sell. You know, and we'd leave early in the morning. We'd come back when it was dark, driving around in Berkeley, door to door, selling fruit. Now, that was summers. I mean, I could have been out doing some, which she knew. She probably was keeping her kids out of trouble as well, but it's what we knew. And then during school years, we're out selling peanut brittle.
Wow.
You know, so if I would have had someone there that just guided us, you know, and the teenagers back then were, you know, they didn't always want us hanging around, but they kept us out of trouble as well. So, I mean, I think it started there. There was no one that, you know, and I mentioned Ramon, you know, I mean, he was a guy passing us in the hallway speaking, because, you know, cops didn't speak to rookies back then. You know, it's like, you know, if I'm dressing anywhere near his locker, move my stuff out of the way, you know, but this guy spoke, you know, like, oh, that was huge. So it became to be like that, you know. So when I was coming up in the police department, I spoke to everybody. You know, the kids coming through, like, hey, you need anything, let us know. You know, let me work with you this. You have any problems with some stuff? And, you know, they find myself, you know, mentoring back, I guess, and which is, I spent 5 years running the police academy, and that was fulfilling.
Wow.
You know, it was
5 years.
Yeah. I taught report writing in the academy, and then for 5 years I was a supervisor over it. So it was that role.
What'd you want to be when you were 12?
Truck driver.
Really?
Yeah. I wanted to travel. You know, like
I
don't know what I'd seen. There was some show. I don't know, guys driving big rigs.
That is so funny.
Point A to point B.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've asked that question that didn't line up other than traveling. Now you're a world-class traveler. And you just got invited to the Olympics?
Yeah.
To be a part of that security team?
Yeah.
What an honor is that?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Is it official?
It is. I would say like 90% at this point. I think Coach Brown's still waiting to hear from his brother, but something tells me even if his brother does it, I may still do it. You know, because it's getting bigger. Nigeria is the Nigerian national basketball team, so we will spend a week in Nigeria with just the Nigerian players.
So you're not going with America because Coach Brown is
coaching Nigeria. Yeah.
Oh wow, what a thrill.
Yeah.
I mean, we love America. We love
I was kind of thinking I was going to do America because Clay wants to play, Steph wants to play, Draymond wants to play, and I thought maybe okay, I'll get assigned to one of those guys, but there's no guarantee any of them are gonna make it. There's like 44 guys that have come about to do it, and I don't know if they're gonna let them all play.
Right.
Coach Brown is taking it on as a challenge. I mean, he loves to coach, which he's doing a lot of this year with this team that we have. So we're gonna spend a week in Nigeria when this thing starts. 2 weeks in the Bay, head off to China, Australia. Then we end up in Tokyo. Yeah.
So how did you get the Warriors job? What do you do here?
So I got this job a couple of years ago because my friend Ralph Walker was the head of security back then, and positions opened up. And you know, like I said, Ralph and I were always good friends. You know, we played basketball together. He was on the police department with me and called that.
Police department with you.
He did. I think he did 22 years. He came on. He's a basketball guy. Like the Olympics All-Star game was just in Chicago. Ralph's a street ball legend in Chicago.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Ralph, you go to the south side of Chicago and talk Ralph's name. I mean, even now when we walk over some of these games, we run into people like Isaiah Thomas and some of these other NBA players. They all know Ralph, because they know he's from Chicago. They all have that Chicago vibe. But he played basketball here at St. Mary's College. But he came on, asked me about doing this a couple of years ago. And I was like, sure.
So
And it's a grind.
It's a grind. You're
Yeah.
here. You got here at 11 today.
Yeah.
And you'll go home tonight at 8?
8:30 tonight. We were first day back from the All-Star break. So
No game.
No, practice is at 6. And I think it's more or less just to get people back in town for a walkthrough, something light. Tomorrow will be a real practice, and the game is on Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, I think we play Houston because they would be in here tonight at 4 o'clock up on the main court shooting around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And so, you came on 3 years ago. It's so fun just being a part of your life and seeing you in the trophy room on game. What game was the first year you won when you were here?
Oh yeah.
Was that game 7? It went 7.
No, that was
5.
We went 7 against Houston, but we only went 4. We swept Cleveland.
Oh, that's
in the
the year you
finals.
swept.
That's the year we swept.
And you're in
the locker room, man, I was having a ball.
Wow.
Yeah, it went all night.
All night.
Yeah.
Give me a couple of just moments that are seared into your head that you'll never forget, that you just, I can't believe I'm here now.
Yeah. One would be holding the championship trophy, in the locker room, watching the champagne fly and dumping champagne. It's like a part of the celebration, and coming back here to Oakland with the crowd out there on the runway or at the airport waiting for us. And I remember walking up to Steph Curry and asking him, do you remember what you told me just before we went to the playoffs? Because he was hurt going into that playoffs. And then we were in Utah for one of the last games, and we got beat by 30-some points. I was having a hard time watching it. I kept walking out to the back going, this is crazy. And Steph came up, hey, it's going to be all right, Tom. I'm like, okay. I don't have that kind I know we're going to the playoffs. This game means nothing. Okay, so when we got to the airport that day, getting back from Cleveland, I said, hey, Steph, you remember what you told me? That's going to be all right, Tom? I go, yeah. Is it all right? Go, you holding the trophy. It's all right.
That's fantastic.
Oh, that was great.
That's fantastic.
And then, last year was a tough year for me with the boss. It's no longer here. But the support I got from the players was amazing. I remember Draymond just telling me one day right after, it was early January, like, hey, man, we got you. I speak for the players. We got you.
Wow.
I was like, that's huge.
Wow.
Yeah, and I appreciated it because it was like really the first bad boss I ever had. And it was like, why in my after career would I run into somebody like this? Yeah. I mean, I had knucklehead bosses at the police department, but it was...
And everybody saw what you were suffering through.
Yeah.
And they saw you suffering well.
Yeah.
With a smile, still gracious. And they had to have.
Yeah.
For that to happen?
Yeah.
Watching you amongst the players and then to have the chaplain... Remember the first time I was doing a shoot around, my wife and I were at the game and we were on the court.
Yeah.
And the chaplain came over and said, hey, and he pulled me aside and he says, you can't believe what Tony Banks means to these players. And I just went, what?
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing
to
have
huge.
The influence that you have because of who you are and how you're living. And it shows.
Yeah.
It's peculiar. Tell me about the biggest challenge currently right now in the Warriors, without privacy or anything like that, like we're like here. It's a different year.
Yeah, the biggest challenge is just getting the new players on board. Over the past 5-6 years, we've gotten used to winning. Coming back without Clay and without Kevin, was huge. Figure, okay, well, we've picked up, D'Angelo Russell. He'll be able to play with Steph, and then Steph goes down in Game 4, and it's like, okay, it's all about next season now. They're like, well, that's a wrap. How do we lose graciously? So now it just became teaching, and I watched Coach Brown and Coach Kerr and all the rest of them do more. I mean,
it's harder
than I've ever seen them do.
Yeah, it's a lot more work.
Oh yeah, I mean,
lose.
Because now, but they're teaching, and I'm watching the games and I'm watching things happen, and then they'll take a time out and bring them over and kind of go over some stuff, And I'm like, man, so this is really teaching, but they are knowing some people out of this group is going to have to play with our nucleus when it's back together next year. So we got to get them right, and it gets frustrating to them.
Sure. But you're probably watching genius in action.
Yeah.
Because these guys are not dumb ducks that built this organization.
Oh, no.
And now they know what's coming.
Yeah.
And you're probably watching the inside, behind the curtain stuff that was happening 4 years before you guys won the championship.
Yeah.
And you'll probably in 2 more years go, oh.
Yeah.
What a glimpse you get.
But what? Even beyond basketball, that before we came here, it was like our practice court was like this at the other place, and there was like a screen up, and the players would sit out in chairs, and they do film study, and they talk to Coach Kerr, or they go over whatever. Now we have a theater back there that they go to, so I really don't see it anymore. But I learned so much, not just about basketball from that, because I would come back after a loss or something, want to just dig into somebody. And I watched Kerr come up, and all of a sudden he's showing them stuff and things that they got to do. I'm like, huh. So that's leadership right there of people, of super athletes here. This is how he motivates them. I'm thinking as a coach, dude, here's what you did wrong. But he come, hey, check this out. You run the play. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But beyond basketball, the things I've seen with this organization, obviously meeting Barack Obama and listening to him talk and applying some of what he said. But this is a very aware organization. I've met Trayvon Martin's parents. Last week I got to meet Kevin Reynolds, I think is his last name. He was one of the Central Park Five.
Okay.
One of the 5 people that went to jail for that. Met him. Got a chance to talk to him.
Wow.
We've had Martin Luther King's speechwriter in here recently that talked about, they have a dream speech, and the biggest part wasn't in writing. If you ever listen to it, you hear Mahalia Jackson in the back going, "Tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream," and he went off script.
Really?
Yeah, because it wasn't written down about, but he talked about it. And, he was kind of going on with the script, and you hear Mahalia. If you listen, you hear it back. Tell about the dream, Martin. So we learned that.
Who?
Mahalia Jackson.
Really?
Gospel singer.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was up on the dais sitting behind him.
Really?
But you'll hear her say, "Tell them about the dream, Martin. Tell them about the dream."
The speechwriter was here last week telling you guys about it.
It was not only last week, it was a couple of weeks ago. He's a professor over at USF now. Tommy Smith from the '68 Olympics, talk about what has been a black athlete during the '60s and the boycott and being banned from running because of his protests.
It's a historical organization.
Oh, man.
They care about history.
Yeah, last year or 2 years ago, we were in D.C. and we took a group of school kids to the African American Museum of Modern History. They probably never would have gone, but the players went out with them and we walked through with them. I'm like, man, this is fantastic.
It's fantastic.
It goes beyond basketball,
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
What? Last question.
Mm-hmm.
Whose voice is primarily in Tony Banks's head? Think about that for a second. Whose voice, your reactionary, is it a lieutenant? Is it a mentor? Is it your dad? What's the primary? Is it old Tony? Is it the Lord? Whose voice is the voice primarily in Tony's head currently? And what's that voice saying?
Wow. I want to say it's the Lord's, but it's not. It's not on if it's primary. I listened to like Danny Sunday was talking about, being Christ-like, belief, I forget the 3 words, belief produces behavior or something. Those 3 words you left us with. I'm like, oh, okay. So I try to hear that. I try to be a part of that. But I hear my wife's voice. I have 2 people that I really listen to in life, and Sharon is one of them. She has got to be one of my most favorite people, heroes, and so on. Just because of the life that she's led and the things that she's gone through, even before meeting me, and the things that she's gone through since becoming a part of my life, things that not all were good. So I hear her voice a lot, and it's like, okay, what would Sharon want me to do here? But see, and then I also hear my father's voice, because like I said, I talk to him frequently, and his concern is me. He's still my father. It's kind of like, hey, well, make sure you take care of yourself. You're dealing with everything else, but you got to take care of you so you can take care of them. Sharon and I, we always, when we talk about things, she's comes from the emotional standpoint, I'm from the logical, and we try to make that work. So I hear her voice a lot, but I make sure that out of it is, the right thing. What is the right thing to do? What does God want me to do in this instance? And because I'm not, Danny said something about the WWJD bracelet. I'm probably the DD for David. I'm like, David was more relatable to me than, that guy messed up some things, he ran away from some stuff. That's me. I didn't want to be in power. I didn't want to be king. I don't want to be a ruler, but it selects you. My biggest thing right now is I don't want any responsibility.
That's You're done with responsibility.
Oh, I don't want none. But Sharon looked at me like that. That's not possible, right? You got kids. I got nothing. I just got me. I got you. You are my responsibility. I want none of it. I'm running. You're chasing me, trying to make me be king. I don't want it.
Yeah.
So I hear her a lot because she is my primary concern. Her happiness, her health, and everything.
Yeah.
But I hear Jesus and.
Yeah. You're very sensitive.
All you pastors in my head all the time.
Yeah, you're very sensitive, and I don't want to say you're very. It sounds like, just getting into your life, you've always been a proactive man in improving your situation, yourself, your heart, your relationships, and the people around you. I mean, you're a consummate improver.
I try to learn from my mistakes and others. Coming up in law enforcement, that was one of the best teacher was talking to other people. I don't care what we got from the classroom. You just handled a call where you got beat up or something. How'd you get yourself in that situation? So I know not to do that. It's in that try to learn from that, learn from talking. In losing the 4 officers in 2009, I swear it helped me deal with losing my daughter in 2012. Because had that been my first loss, I don't know if we'd be talking right now. Because I went over, and Ed was still around in 2015. So I don't know if he'd have gotten me to church. It'd be like, why take my daughter? It can't be a God if you allow that to happen.
Exactly.
But because I'd already had that huge loss in 2009,
worked through some of that.
I had already worked through some of it. It became, okay, how do I help my wife get through this? How do we get through this together?
Yep.
And so I was learning from that. And
you were a champion through that whole thing. A champion. I just could not believe that whole thing, and what a rock of stability you were as you were grieving. And unbelievable season for you.
Yeah.
And Sharon's blessed to have you in her life. I'm blessed to have you in my life. Every man who knows you is blessed to have you in their lives, Lord. Tony, we cannot walk alone. How appropriate.
Yeah, right.
What is this?
This is for Black History Month. This was from Martin Luther King. All the NBA had these shirts. We cannot walk alone. This is from one of his speeches.
Okay.
Saying, to get to where we need to be, we can't do it by ourselves.
And that's what you exuded in your whole life.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not walking through life without a guy like you in my life, Tony.
Likewise.
I can't begin to tell you what you mean to me, my wife, my son, my family, our community. You mean so much to everybody who knows you, and Sharon. And I'm just privileged to know you. Thanks for sitting with us, getting in behind the curtain a little bit and what makes you you.
Yeah.
I learned so much. I hope you were encouraged. I hope if you were encouraged to like it, subscribe to us. Tony, where do we find you? What's your Instagram? Tony B?
Tony B5.
Tony B5.
Yeah.
Thanks again for sitting with us in the Chase Center in the BioFreeze practice facility. God bless you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out.
Peace out.
Could you believe the nuggets of wisdom Tony Banks was dropping on all things hard, marriage, tragedy, loss of a child, Golden State Warriors in the middle of a tough year? Boom, wisdom dripping from this dude. Glad you joined us. Hey, he mentioned Israel. Love to see you come to Israel with me, January 5th, 2021. Go to my webpage, thetribeofway.org, and go to the adventures page and get all the information you need to join us on the pilgrimage of a lifetime. Regardless, I'm glad you're part of our community. Subscribe, like on iTunes, on YouTube. And again, I'm just glad you're here with us through this adventure of learning how to simplify our lives and simplify our faiths. Then listen, next couple of weeks, I'm going to be sharing some things that my wife and I are learning that are peculiar in the form of lifestyle, in the form of how to slow down this thing called life and the pace from which culture has cranked everything up to. And it's going to be just me sharing some thoughts and some things I'm wrestling with, some things I don't have figured out as I become the masterpiece I was created to be in this time of history, in this community, living with the people that God's put in front of my face. Will I be the guy I've been created to be, or allow myself to get off track and become what the world wants me to become? I'm going to be sharing some insights on those two things over the next couple weeks. I hope you join me. Regardless, Live as the masterpiece you were created to be, the one of a kind that only you can be. Peace.